All right, it's 6 P.M. I call this Village of Harrison meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we got roll call. Trustee Lancaster. Here. Trustee Brentmeyer. Here. Trustee Van Hefty. Here. Village President's here. Trustee Thiel. Here. Trustee Baldwin. Here. Trustee Reinhold. Here. All right, we have a quorum. We're all present. Next up is identification of potential conflicts of interest. Everyone has had a chance to look at the agenda prior to the meeting. If you have any conflicts of interest that you want to announce prior to continuing, please announce them now. Anyone here have any conflicts of interest? Okay, next up is correspondence or communication from board and staff. Anybody have anything they would like to share? There being none, we'll move on to corrections and approval for the previous meeting minutes for May 26, 2026. Meeting minutes, looking for a motion and a second. Trustee Baldwin.
I'll make a motion to approve the May 26, 2026 meeting minutes as circulated and presented.
Trustee Van Hefty.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion by Trustee Baldwin and a second by Trustee Van Hefty to approve the meeting minutes from May 26, 2026. Discussion? There being no discussion, please vote your ballot.
I got a voice vote, yes. I can't get in here. I'm working on it.
What would you like to vote, sir?
Yes.
Okay. You got that? Okay, the motion passes unanimously. Next up is public comments. The board will receive information from the public in accordance with state statute 19.842. Be advised, board discussion is limited to only clarify the information received. No action shall be taken under public comments. General procedure is to allow each person 3 minutes to speak, although the village president may grant extensions, reduce time, or limit the number of like-minded speakers on this topic. Anyone wishing to speak should register name on the sign-in sheet prior to the start of the meeting. Looks like we have Kelly Wenzel. Would you like to come up and speak? And for the record, would you please state your name and address?
Kelly Wenzel,
Hold tight.
sorry,
Okay, there you go.
Kelly Wenzel, and 8645 Fire Lane 10, Menasha.
Okay.
Do we have those videos?
Yes, we have some videos.
I brought some videos along just to show what the current conditions are on Fire Lane 10. We're dealing with major traffic problems from the current project, and I would like that addressed before we go forward.
Okay. That's kind of long.
Yeah, imagine living there. It's a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. There is a video of a truck doing 25 miles an hour to show the difference. That's not the one doing 25. This is the one doing 25. That's what 25 miles an hour looks like down that road. Do you not have the one on the BMW doing 70 down the road?
I didn't
You didn't get that one? Okay.
and I sent an email to Ring Doorbell when there was no.
That was
was
the
a
one.
link.
Okay.
Is that your red truck with the?
That was our red truck, yes. The
Because
last.
I've been on a couple times just kind of monitoring the traffic and I've seen that,
truck parked.
Radar in the
Yeah,
back of the
yeah,
truck.
we went ahead and bought that ourselves, and
But there's a radar.
that has helped to slow down the traffic a little bit. It's a solar powered radar sign that flashes if you're going over the 25 miles an hour, and it has helped a little bit, but we shouldn't have had to take that upon ourselves to do that.
Have you talked to our,
I've talked to everybody multiple times, and they come out and they try to help it, but if the police don't see it happening, I understand there's nothing they can do. But this is every day, and it has been every day for the last 4 years with constant speeding. Fire lane 10 is not a standard roadway, it's 22 feet wide, a standard dump truck is 8.5 feet wide. So if you've got two trucks speeding towards each other at 45 miles an hour, that's 2.5 feet of wiggle room per truck, not per side, per truck. There's no shoulder on that road and it's ditch on both sides. It's downright terrifying out there sometimes, especially in light of what's happened recently. Like I said, I've gone through all avenues. I've talked to different board members. I've posted things on the community Facebook pages. I've called the police. I filled out reports on the C-Click fix and nothing. It might get better for a little bit, but there's been no long-term resolution. So I'm concerned about what's going to happen going forward when you're adding another construction project on a road that was never designed to handle any more than light traffic.
why would those trucks be needing to go down?
Those are building houses in the north.
Is it,
It's connected to the North Shore Ridges subdivision, so I mean, I don't think that the village hasn't done anything to protect the existing residents from what has been happening. So when we hear there's another project from the same company, it's understandable that we have our reservations. I'm not opposed to the project, I just would like to see it handled in a way that protects our privacy and safety and also can let them do what they want to do. At the village board planning meeting, it was said that they intend to develop 3 to 4 houses. I don't have a problem with that. If they're held with 3 to 4 houses, I would like to see a plan in place to monitor the traffic, control the traffic some way. Seeing as North Shore Ridges owns all of the property, wouldn't it be an option for them to put in even a private road that connects from Old Highway Road to Brick Lane? And that would save Fire Lane 10 from having to deal with all of this at least a little bit. It's been constant. This fall will begin year 5 of this project. I mean, anybody can be patient for a limited time, but when the end is in sight, it's hard to take. It's affecting our quality of life, our sleep, stress levels. It just never goes away. This is supposed to be our safe place, but it's just constant. Some days, one of those trucks will pass the house like that every 2 to 3 minutes. Sometimes going both ways, and it's all day, every day. Usually it's lighter on the weekends, but I've gotten up at 5:30 in the morning to go out on the deck with a cup of coffee and hear concrete saws back there, you know, so I'm concerned that I can't handle another 5 years of this, so I'd like to see this new project have a time limit as well as a time limit put on the existing project. It's like I said, it's going on 5 years and I don't believe they're even halfway through with building the houses back there yet. And then they're going to start building some more yet. I don't know if that's a fact. It's private back there. I'm not sure how many houses have been built to date, but I probably have other things to say.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna assign Chad to get you some information and maybe come up with a plan on how to at least get the speeding down. So,
Yeah, and even aside from the safety issue, the noise of it, a big truck passing by at 25 is a lot less loud than when passing by at 45 miles an hour, or sometimes even faster. And that's all I ask, is that there be some consideration to what used to be a very, very quiet neighborhood, you know, so. Okay.
Chad, you got it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if John wants to speak, cause he's had some, he's been over there and they've done the enforcement and we've had radar signs and all of that kind of stuff up there. I mean, I hate to say that it's short term, cause I realize it's not short term after 5 years, but you know, it's like any other street in the village. Woodland Road is dealing with the same thing.
It's not though, because it's not a non-standard rural residential road. It's not a standard road. There is no shoulder there. I mean, if that dump truck veers off 1.5 feet, he's in my ditch and gonna roll over on me weeding my front flower bed, you know? I mean, it's not the same as a Woodland Road. And the Woodland Road projects have gone a lot faster as well. I mean, most of these subdivisions are 1.5 years, 2 years, maybe 3 years. like I said, it's been constant for a full 4 years now and they had the data center expansion in the middle of that, which was additional noise. And I'm not opposed to the data center. I wasn't opposed to the data center expansion. I just want somebody to consider us in the neighborhood when we're doing all these things.
Well, we'll talk internally and see what we can come up with.
Thank you.
Thank
Can I
you.
speak on what has been done so far? So, first of all, I understand your frustration, I do, and I've instructed our deputies to give that attention when they have the ability. There's several hurdles to overcome. Number one, we're in marked cars, so obviously you see us, you
People
slow
slow
down.
down,
It's
right.
pretty common. There's no good place to hide there to get these dump trucks. We haven't taken any crashes involving dump
I know.
trucks, just to be clear, I know you're stating the narrowness of the roadway. We haven't taken any significant incidents due to that, not to say that that couldn't happen, all right? I'm not taking away from what you're saying, I'm just letting you know that, when we're there, we're not seeing it, and I've even taken it upon myself to go to site, foremans and just, hey, I didn't catch any of your guys, I can't sit here all day, but do me a favor, the residents are concerned, can you have a talk with your guys? Tell them to make extra efforts to slow down, I know the speed limit was 25, if you could go less than that, that would be great. What he does with that information, I can't sit there in his back pocket and see, he might be just telling me, yep, I'll make that happen, and
Sometimes
It's
it
just
helps,
appeasing.
sometimes it makes it worse. Some people will
Right.
retaliate or then come and confront us over it. There was a video of that also, some guy.
Yep. I did see that video.
This is what I have to deal with every day and I know you don't see it when you're there, but that doesn't mean it's not happening.
I believe it is,
My
but
neighbors-
Can you take radar from fire lane 11? Nobody's seeing you over there, you could shoot across the field and then you see what is going on.
that's not how radar works. I need
Okay.
you to be coming directly at me or directly behind me, so
Okay.
it's a straight line.
But you could definitely see somebody speeding
Yeah.
without a number.
You can, we're trained in that, we have that training and
Sure.
certification to watch a speeding vehicle. I don't really wanna get to a big debate here. Those vehicles that you showed, those dump trucks, my training experience, they are speeding. Are they going excess of 40? They might be pushing
It's a
it.
If they're
25 mile an
fully
hour speed
loaded,
limit.
If they're fully loaded, that's the maximum speed for a car driving down the road, not for a fully loaded dump truck driving down a narrow road.
Well, it's a speed limit, it's a speed limit. If
Right.
you're speeding, you're speeding.
Right.
Right? It doesn't matter if you're
Right.
operating a motor vehicle or heavy equipment.
Other than it's a
still
whole lot
speeding.
harder to stop heavy equipment and, we still have dogs and kids and old people out there. Before this project started, we saw more pedestrian traffic than we saw in vehicular, and
Yep,
our whole
Communities-
neighborhood has changed because of
and the
this.
community's building up and this is kind of a fallout of that. I'm happy to continue efforts.
Thank you.
We, in the past, we put up speed boards, we'll put that out
But
there.
it was
again.
up for like 1 week, and then they
And it was
needed it
one
somewhere
time.
else,
There
It was
was-
one time for 5 days.
that in the
has been
last
on our
4
road.
years.
You guys are third on a list that have requested it this week.
And we had to
So
go out and buy
we
our
only got-
own, we had to go out and buy our own sign to monitor, to slow.
And it
speed.
has helped, it
It
has helped.
And the speed board will help too, just like your speed board's helping.
But
when
you
that
can't
speed
camp
board's
out in front
not
of the
there,
house.
when that speed board's not there, people are gonna go right back into doing what they
And they
want.
do, especially when
about-
they figure out it's,
What about the speed limit sign like on Lake Park Road?
That's one of the options is the board.
Just put a permanent board in there that has a speed sign on it, because you come onto fire lane 10, you have a little tiny speed limit that's 25 miles an hour masked by a tree. Like, maybe people aren't even aware that it's not a 25 mile an hour road and they're,
And it's right on that corner, you come around that corner, you don't see it.
and
and if
they're,
you're not from the neighborhood, you wouldn't know,
Yep, I
you know,
understand.
right?
So, I hear what you guys saying and I understand, and I'm gonna let my staff, who this is their responsibility, I like that idea. And we're going through a budget process, each department marks out like things that they need. And, Chad, how much are those speed signs?
8,000.
Yeah,
geez.
so,
Hey, $500 for that one. Amazon.
Well, we have to buy the electronics to log into it so we can get the data.
but we can get that on the list and we'll go through the budget process, and to me, And I hear what you're saying, and then the officers hear that, see that, but real data, because after a while, those signs are up, people kind of ignore them. And
Absolutely.
we collect that data, and then the officer sees the times, the dates, when the speeding occurs. I mean, during his report, he'll maybe talk about how, hey, during the summer hours, North Coop Road, excessive speeding, and it happens, in the afternoon, so there's been more presence over there. So they collect all this data and they can go through and see, okay, this time frame, if it's dump trucks, then they'll send an officer over there to, when they're available to monitor all that. But if we can collect the data, that is more powerful than, than
Me
not
showing
being
my
there.
videos
Yeah.
or, yes, I understand, and I thank the police officers for trying to deal with it, and like I said, I understand that if they don't see it, there's not much they can do, but that doesn't take care of the problem for us, that, like I said.
And it sounds like this is gonna be a long-term thing, the way to collecting data and how all that goes.
It takes about a
That's-
month or so once they're up. I mean, I don't know what we collected every month.
You could log in real time.
Yeah, they're log in real time and they can see all the data and they
And
can,
then how long does it take to do something, and what are the possibilities that you would do?
well, that would be
Based on what,
Calumet County's responsibility to, look at the data and respond accordingly.
But shouldn't the village have considered this before approving a major construction project in a neighborhood off of a non-conforming road? I mean, traffic controls could have been put in place from the beginning.
That's
Yeah.
hindsight's always 2020.
Absolutely, but I believe that's
I
the,
know, but you look at Harrison, the whole Fox Valley's growing like
I
this. It's not-
understand,
You're
but-
not the exception.
I understand that entirely, but according to the village website, the goal of the planning commission is to manage that growth in an orderly fashion that takes the existing residents' rights into effect.
Well, I agree with that.
And I would like that to happen, that's all I'm
You're
asking
working on
for.
that with law enforcement right now. That's why we're listening.
I appreciate that,
And
and I have nothing against Mr. Clister, I wish you the best of luck, I would like to see this project done, and the sooner, it's been a lot, and there's no relief from it, this is our safe haven, and we can't escape it,
And four houses across in that field is a lot more acceptable than 15 houses
Yeah,
like the other
I'm
development.
completely
kind of
fine
grew
with that,
up
I'm not opposed to what you're doing, I just
all
want
right,
to.
so I
All right.
appreciate it, but we do have
Yep,
other
thank you.
business. Thank you. Trustee Lancaster.
Just a quick suggestion, since we're talking about dump trucks, perhaps we can reach out to State Patrol and they have their unmarked motor carrier enforcement, and maybe they would spend an hour or two and maybe they could look at it. I know it's a village road, so I don't know if they would do anything or not, but just a suggestion.
They would, and that actually has been brought up to them. I don't track what they're doing, but, I can follow up with that because they were going to do that.
Thanks.
Okay, next up, we have presentation from McMahon and Ellers on future stormwater requirements and financing.
so we're gonna start with McMahon, and Phil is gonna walk through a presentation, and then we're gonna switch over and talk about how we're gonna fund his recommended improvements with Ellers.
Riveting stuff this evening, stormwater. Thank you, Chad. Yeah, again, Phil Clayman with McMahon. I'm a municipal and water resource engineer. Little background on me, I used to be the Garners Creek Stormwater Utility Engineer while they were still an entity, and have completed the village's stormwater management plan the last several updates. So very familiar with the village and its stormwater system and requirements. Just a little overview here tonight. Gonna talk about the DNR municipal stormwater permit. We're gonna talk about total maximum daily loads, or TMDLs, and how they relate to your permit. We'll touch on some of the stormwater quality practices at our fingertips or within our toolbox that we can implement. And we'll wrap up with the village's TMDL stormwater quality analysis and some of the plan of actions and items that come out of that. So jumping right in,
So it's a PDF.
yeah, that's right. We're good. The DNR municipal permit covers these various minimum control measures or topics. I'm not gonna get into all of these this evening. The two that are highlighted there, the post-construction site stormwater management and the stormwater quality management are the two minimum control measures we'll be discussing this evening. So the village's original stormwater permit was issued back in 2006, believe it or not. There were some updated permits issued in 2014 and 2019. The DNR was supposed to issue an updated permit in May of 24, but that has yet to be reissued. They are currently still working on that, and we are patiently waiting for that to be issued. But as of now, we are still operating under that 2019 permit. With the 2019 permit, I mentioned TMDLs, and we'll talk a little bit more about what a TMDL actually is and what it means, but basically the TMDL requires phosphorus and sediment reductions, which are now implemented through that municipal stormwater permit. When TMDLs are approved by the DNR, the village has basically 3 years to produce a plan to basically illustrate how you plan on meeting these water quality requirements. So moving on, total maximum daily load. Again, it's an acronym for, TMDL is the acronym for total maximum daily load. TMDLs are basically the amount of a pollutant that a water body can receive and still meet water quality standards. So in essence, we're trying to make our streams, rivers, lakes swimmable, fishable, enjoyable for our use. The EPA requires the DNR to identify water bodies that are not meeting these standards and put them on a 303D list. Several of the water bodies within the village have been listed as 303D impaired and have since had TMDLs developed. So back in 2012, the Lower Fox River Basin TMDL was approved for sediment and phosphorus pollutants. Within the village, the two sub-watersheds that fall within this TMDL are the Gurners Creek and Kankapot Creek sub-watersheds. In 2020, the EPA and DNR approved the Upper Fox and Wolf Basin TMDL for, again, phosphorus and sediment pollutants. And Lake Winnebago is the big watershed within that TMDL. Here is a watershed map of the village, just to kind of illustrate those three sub-watersheds, the Gurners Creek, Kankapot Creek, and Lake Winnebago watersheds. So what does this mean? Well, as I mentioned earlier, the TMDLs identify a required pollutant load reduction that each of these sub-watersheds need to attain. So looking at this table here, each sub-watershed carries a different phosphorus and sediment reduction requirement. Gurners Creek carries a 69% phosphorus and a 60% sediment. Kankapot Creek, a little bit lower standard, as you can see, only 41% phosphorus and 52% sediment. Lake Winnebago carries a very stringent 83% phosphorus, but does not identify any sediment. So I'm sure you're all wondering what this really means in the grand scheme of things. These percentages probably mean nothing to you guys, so I'm going to try and put that in perspective for you folks. Right now, the current village ordinance only touches on sediment, on TSS. So right now, the current village ordinance, and that's in accordance with state requirement, is to require an 80% sediment reduction for any new development that comes in. So new subdivision comes into town, they have to achieve an 80% sediment reduction as part of their design. So a lot of times you'll see a stormwater pond put in. Those stormwater ponds help reduce or improve water quality of the runoff leaving that subdivision. So one other thing, key relationship to kind of keep in mind as we continue our discussion this evening is when a pond gets 80% sediment reduction, we generally see a net result of about a 60% phosphorus reduction. Okay, so again, coming back to that subdivision analogy, when the stormwater pond goes in, they're probably getting about an 80% sediment reduction and about a 60% phosphorus reduction for that development. If we jump back up to that table now and we look at Gurners Creek and Lake Winnebago on the phosphorus side, you can see that that 60% that we might get out of a typical stormwater pond is short of the 69% and 83% that's required in Garner's Creek and Lake Winnebago. The other thing I should mention, and I've kind of alluded to this, wet detention ponds, they effectively max out at about 60 or 65% phosphorus reduction. So if you can kind of see where I'm going with this, it is going to be a challenge to meet these TMDL phosphorus standards for Garner's Creek and Lake Winnebago because they are so stringent. They kind of go above and beyond the typical tools in our toolbox, if you will. So I want to talk about some of the stormwater practices that are at our disposal in our tool belt that we can utilize. Some of these you guys are hopefully familiar with. Street sweeping, grass swales. You'll sometimes see on smaller sites biofiltration or sand filters, little depressions that are filled with like sand media to help treat stormwater runoff. But predominantly in the Fox Valley with our clay soils, we see wet detention ponds. That's predominantly what's been installed in the village throughout time here, and that's our kind of our go-to practice. What has since come out recently, last month, the DNR came out with a new technical standard for enhanced settling systems. Really what this is we are going to chemically treat stormwater now. That's really what it's boiling down to. To meet these strict phosphorus requirements, this is the one tool in the toolbox that will kind of ramp up those pollutant reductions. You can see here in the red box that while none of these systems have been implemented in the state to date, some of the literature suggests that we'll see 90 to 95% phosphorus removal. Again, going back to that table, if we're getting 90 to 95%, we're going to be okay in Lake Winnebago and Garner's Creek. So we're kind of supercharging our wet detention ponds by adding chemical treatment, okay? So let's get into the stormwater analysis. Back in 2018 and 2020, we did a couple different analyses for the village and the Garner's Creek stormwater utility. In essence, we found that with the current BMPs or ponds that you guys, the village has in place, both village owned and privately owned, you guys are achieving about a 52% phosphorus reduction in the Garner's Creek watershed and a 44% reduction in Lake Winnebago. You're short. The good news is you're meeting the reduction requirements in the Kankapot Creek subwatershed. So we can put that to bed, put that to the side, and what we're left with is we needed to develop a plan of action for both the Garner's Creek subwatershed and the Lake Winnebago subwatershed to again meet that 69% and 83% identified in the table. So this is the Garner's Creek plan of action. It's tough to see exactly what's going on here, but hopefully the southern portion of the map looks familiar. That's the portion within the village, south of Calumet Street there. We've got some big workhorses already in the ground that the Garner's Creek Stormwater Utility constructed back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, in the name of peak discharge, peak flow control, flood control, as well as improving water quality. So up on the screen there, you'll see a bunch of red blobs. Those are the big regional facilities, the big Garner's Creek ponds that are intended to be effectively supercharged with this enhanced settling system. So back in 2018, we projected converting or adding those systems to those ponds would cost roughly $3.2 million in 2018 costs. Now keep in mind that the Garner's Creek subwatershed is a bit of a unique it's unique in the sense that the village is cooperatively working with the town of Buchanan, the village of Combined Locks, and the village of Kimberly. Those were the original members of the Garner's Creek Stormwater Utility. All of those communities put money into a pot back in the day to build all of these regional facilities that are located in the village. And so because of that, they have an agreement in place to effectively work together. That's the most cost-effective way to meet these standards. And so those costs will be shared amongst those 4 communities within the Garner's Creek subwatershed. When we look at the Lake Winnebago subwatershed, that is going to be strictly on the village dollars. So again, you'll see a bunch of red blobs up on the map here. Those are stormwater ponds. Some of them may be existing, some of them may be proposed or future. But the point here is that we're gonna need some enhanced settling, to meet these high phosphorus requirements. One other thing I wanted to point out here, you'll notice on these last two maps, and down in the legend, we've got kind of a red cross hatching for future growth areas. And you'll notice there's, some verbiage up there about updating the ordinances to mention both sediment and phosphorus. So I wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit here this evening as well. One thing that is on the table, certainly to help meet these standards, is to effectively put that requirement on developers. So we met with staff, and again, one option could be implementing, say, a 85% phosphorus requirement in your ordinance. But effectively, what you're going to do is put that additional cost and burden on a developer. So from a future growth standpoint, we didn't feel like that's a great option for the village. It might prohibit growth, right? To have that really stringent ordinance requirement. So our recommendation is to adopt an updated or a new ordinance that would still require some phosphorus requirement, but not take it to the nth degree and match or satisfy the TMDL requirements. We're suggesting maybe a 60% phosphorus reduction. Again, going back to that analogy that a typical stormwater pond can get about 80% sediment, 60% phosphorus. So by adding a 60% phosphorus requirement into your ordinance, that'll help you kind of meet this requirement, kind of grow your way out of it, if you will. With the idea being that when a developer comes in the future, builds a subdivision, puts the wet detention pond in, you as a village should keep in the back of your mind, and as we review these sites, to maybe keep a little bit of extra room on those pond outlots for a future building. These enhanced settling systems will likely have a small building tied to them for chemical feed systems or chemical storage, so there probably will be a small little building on the pond site that will need to be located. So that's just something to keep in mind as future developments, future subdivisions come in. As we're reviewing those, we might require that there be a little plot of land, if you will, designated for these future enhanced settling systems. And the idea there is that the stormwater utility, the village's stormwater utility, could then fund adding those enhanced settling systems in the future. So, we have created a draft ordinance that has been prepared for adoption. That's been prepared and presented to village staff. I believe the intention is to maybe take that through the board in the next month or two here, but here again is a table kind of showing our recommended updated ordinance requirements. So to tie this into Ellers and where we're going with all of this, what we had done as part of creating those plan of actions is to also create a capital improvement plan, a long-term capital improvement plan. So I'm sure one of the questions is, well, how long do we have to comply with this, right? It's open-ended as of right now. There is no definitive timeline. You are able to propose a timeline based on your plan of action and your fiscal budget and how much you guys can afford. So when we went through this analysis a couple of years ago, we were proposing a 50 or 60 year timeline to try and push this out as long as possible, maybe doing a project every 2 to 4 years, try and pick away at it, capitalize on grant opportunities. So with that, we'll turn it over to Ellers. I'll entertain some questions in case there are any, but effectively we turned over the capital improvement plans to Ellers for them to kind of do their number crunching and determine where you guys should be sitting with your stormwater utility rate. So, questions?
What's the,
Trustee Bremmeyer.
where's all this phosphorus coming from?
Good question. So the state, generally speaking, it's probably coming off of the lawns, okay? The state went to phosphorus-free fertilizer several years ago, but the way we do our modeling, so this is all computer model driven, okay? So all these numbers, all these pollutant load reductions, there's a computer model we use that the state requires us to utilize. That utilizes historical data. It takes into account land uses, soil types, topography, that sort of thing to generate typical pollutant loads from different standard land uses. So we have residential land uses, we have commercial land uses, industrial land uses, and we use a computer model to generate pollutant loads. Okay, so this is a model-driven world. We are not out taking samples. We're not doing any real live sediment sampling, anything like that. It's all computer model-driven. So, where that truly comes from, it's probably the lawns in real life, but.
Thank you, because the farmers have been blamed for years.
Well,
And that's that.
so, okay, so you bring up a good point. So yes, certainly the ag side does contribute phosphorus, okay? The problem is the DNR doesn't have a good way to regulate farmers. Therein lies the problem. They can regulate you, the municipality, they can regulate the big CAFOs, right? The big producers, those guys are all regulated by the DNR. They have their own municipal or stormwater permit for the big CAFOs, but the small local farmer, no way to regulate. So this permit, I should mention, is for the urban area of the village only, okay? So generally, I would say from probably State Park Road east is generally your urban area. West, sorry, thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
The village of Harrison does not have one dairy cow in the village of Harrison, not one.
Mhm.
So less and less and less livestock all the time. I know there's phosphorus, guys put phosphorus on their, now, I'm a farmer, so
Sure.
we have to put phosphorus on to make our crops grow.
Yep.
But we do soil test,
sure, Yep.
and we're good stewards to the land. But what gets under my skin is when sorry Judy, but the press and the news, farmers, and
sure.
there's more pollutant per square foot in a person's lawn than there is on a farmer's field.
Yep.
That's all I'm gonna say.
There's also some tools out there for the village to consider. We looked at some of this with the original plans just to make sure we were producing the most cost-effective plan for the village. But there's an ability to do like pollutant load trading with the farmers. So for example, you could go out and put like a vegetated buffer in, right? And you might generate some credits by that, and then the village could buy those back. But generally speaking, those are tough to get implemented because they have to be long-term agreements, and cost-wise, they're just not as cost-effective as some of these structural BMPs that we were talking about.
So,
Trustee Van Hefley.
yeah, so, with the state not doing any manual testing, we're relying on algorithms that may be incorrect or correct. Because if the algorithms are incorrect, we could be spending millions on chasing something that may not be a problem. So how do we have checks and balances in this process?
Well, that's a very good question. That's a good statement. What I will say is that the DNR and EPA are the DNR hires a consultant to produce the TMDL report. It is reviewed and approved by the EPA. So there is state and federal oversight, review, approval of all of those calculations, algorithms that go into that, right? And unfortunately, at the end of the day, it has been written into your village permit. So if there are concerns about all of that, the permit itself, the timeline, I would always encourage you guys to meet with your local representatives and bring those concerns to their attention. The only way change is gonna happen is if you, right?
Trustee Theo.
As you got in your presentation, the table showed that these reductions, it's a percent reduction.
Yep.
Question was, of what? What is the baseline? What is the number? Where does it come from? And I mean, you may have answered that already.
Yeah.
It's simply from the-
It's from a computer model. So again, we take your urban area of the village, right? And based on the different land uses and soil types, we generate a computer model that spits out X pounds of sediment, X pounds of phosphorus. And then we can start applying the percent reductions that each of these practices provide. Again, a stormwater pond might achieve 80% sediment reduction, 60% phosphorus reduction, so we can take that net benefit and apply it to that drainage area to see where you guys end up. So it's a baseline load of your current land uses as it sits the day we did the modeling. It's a snapshot in time. So your baseline load as the village grows and develops will change. This is a breathing dynamic document. Your plan of action, your loads, it will forever change because the village will always be growing.
So there's a baseline out there for every property, but this really only is assessed or applied to new development, new streets?
It's only applied to the urban area. So there's a census boundary from 2010. That's really the basis of it. So there's a 2010 census boundary. Any contiguous adjacent developed area is considered in, and that's our boundary we utilize. So again, as the village continues to grow, your study area will grow, your baseline load will change and grow, but that's where this ordinance comes into play, right? So as you continue to grow, if you have this ordinance in place, you're kind of chipping away at it as you continue to grow.
So the regulation thereof is on who and when?
It's ultimately on the village. You guys are the permittee. You're permitted by the state as a municipal entity, but you are kind of regulating it through development. You have your ordinance, your post-construction stormwater ordinance that requires these different pollutant load reductions. So as you grow, you're inherently kind of making some progress. Does that make sense?
I guess, I mean, who, somebody has come up with a plan, a reduction plan, then and presented somewhere to someone and say we've met this compliance.
Yeah, so that plan of action, these maps, so that's effectively what these are. This is your plan. This was adopted by previous boards. So this is kind of the village's plan. Will this change? Probably, because I can't guarantee that every pond up there is going to get built where it's located. Like it might move over to the next 40 and we might have to look at something different. But again, that's the point here, is that this is a 50, 60-year planning process, implementation
I think to
process.
answer your question, under the MS4, the stormwater permit that we have with the DNR, we have to do a yearly annual report, and that's where we have to report our success on meeting these.
Okay, how do we assess that? I mean, are you reviewing a plan that says?
Through the development process, we will have that information.
So
That's why frankly, it's important for us to have McMahon continue to do a lot of this for us because of the technicality.
So the village tracks, like they track the number of subdivisions that go in, the number of permits that are issued, the number of erosion control complaints that they have. All of that has to be reported to the DNR at the end of the year. So there's a lot of tracking and stuff that village staff does on an annual basis to stay in compliant with the permit. What we're talking about tonight are probably just two little components of the permit, but there's other measurable goals or things that the village is tracking throughout the year,
So our funding mechanism to pay for this is our stormwater fee, correct?
Yes.
Which is based on, was it ERP?
ERUs.
ERUs, yep.
Which is
So
basically, if you have more, if you're a business, the more impervious surface you have, the higher you pay, but yet the lawns are the reason why we're having all this phosphorus. So now we're gonna jack up businesses because they have more impervious surface, even though the homeowners are the ones that are using the fertilizer. You know what I'm saying? So I guess it's hard for me to understand if the lawns are the ones that are doing all this.
Well-
And then the people who have the more impervious surfaces
Yeah.
are the ones paying more
So
money.
keep in mind, this is more about just phosphorus. There's sediment there too, right? So I know phosphorus is the driving pollutant. And phosphorus does tie to more than just lawns. I mean, phosphorus is tied to sediment pollutants just inherently, so.
So the cost of, if I look at our map, and you just mentioned sediment, we have KK, which is a county highway, that should be county's responsibility.
That's pulled out, yep,
Right, and County N, that's
that's all pulled
county's
out.
responsibility.
correct.
And
State highways too, those are
Yep.
pulled out.
so we got all that, but yeah, we're gonna be on the hook, but here's the other thing, so if you look at Buchanan, you look at that area on Garner's Creek, that's pretty much all residential, except for some land on KK, that's, commercial. But yet you look and you see on the map, you got Lowe's Festival, CE, Eisenhower, Kohl's,
Mhm.
all that, and what we're supposed to pay our fair, I mean, we're dividing it up equally?
No, there's a percentage in the agreement, and it's based on the coverage area, so we'll each pay our represented share, we won't pay anything for those communities will cover that.
Okay. It's feel as though we need to make sure that the numbers match reality, because, and I was on the Common County Land and Water Committee, I don't wanna tell you. I think Harrison is in a bad location having to deal with this, because if you looked at that watershed, where does that watershed start?
Pretty much right at your municipal divide.
No, for Lake Winnebago, where's the Winnebago Wolf River watershed start? Way up north. And some of those counties don't have the personnel to enforce the rules for farming and how much no-till and how much fertilizer you can put in, you know, you gotta have more than 2 inches of surface to rock if you're gonna use fertilizer, right? But all that stuff flows downhill, but yet Winnebago, Outagamie, and Calumet County are the ones that are responsible to pay all this money to clean up Winnebago, which, when I was on that Land and Water Committee, hadn't gotten any improvement over 4 years being part of that conglomerate between Winnebago, Outagamie, and Calumet. So I just feel like we're just in a bad position just because we're on Lake Winnebago and we gotta pay for everyone else for not using proper fertilizing techniques and, you know,
Yeah.
they say water runs downhill, right?
I hear you. There's several other communities that are frustrated as well. I mean, your neighbor, City of Menasha, Village of Sherwood, just keep going around the horn. Everyone's impacted by this. They're all under the same regulations, the same threshold, so everyone's gonna be struggling to meet it. It's not fun, it's gonna be expensive, but, the good news is the compliance timeline is not short. It's extended. It's a long timeline that you guys have to.
I will make a statement that I think I disagree with your analysis that developers we're gonna hinder growth by making developers pay the majority of these costs if they wanna come here and build. I think that's not, I would disagree with you with that.
Sure.
Because
And that,
we have a lower tax rate, we have the best schools, people are overpaying their houses by, I don't know, 10-15% than
Yep.
what's listed. I think it would be in good conscience that developers should pay the majority of the cost, because they're the ones that are gonna increase the more lawns, right?
sure.
So,
That's a decision that the board can make, again, coming back to that ordinance language, you guys, if you wanted to take a more stringent approach and just adopt the TMDL requirements and put that on the developers, that would be up to you guys.
we
So-
hear it all the time. We keep throwing up houses all the time. But yet, the people who live here have to pay the bill, while the developers get rich and they get their, land for sale, and the landowners sell their land, and then it's the taxpayers that have to pay $2.5 million because we have more lawns. I'm sorry, I just.
Reality.
The new homeowners pay tax as well. That's where the tax money comes from.
But the taxpayers didn't, the rules changed from the time that they lived here till now. Am I right? This was developed how long ago? The state requirement.
So your permit came out in 2006, the TMDLs being implemented into the permit was in that 2019 permit.
Yeah, so I lived here, I've been in the village since 2001, so that rule changed, now I
It did,
gotta pay
yep.
for it, right? I didn't ask for that at all,
Mhm.
just being a new homeowner in a village.
Yep.
But It's something that we have to balance.
Mhm.
Okay.
So with that, I'll turn it over to Ellers.
Joe, we gotta get going, man. Sorry, we have to move on.
You guys have something
You already got to speak once.
No, I did not, on this topic, I did not.
Okay, what do you got?
Good question. True or false? Has this timeline already moved multiple times of when the initial deadlines were? Cause I've heard various things, and so
No.
when you say this is an extended timeline, wasn't there some things where the DNR was looking to implement some of these things sooner and they extended out timelines?
There used to be in the original permit, there was a 20 and 40% sediment reduction requirement by 2008 and 2012.
Okay.
Act, I forget whatever the act it was back in 2011, basically, eliminated those requirements.
Okay.
So, and then the TMDLs were starting to be developed, and now the TMDL requirements are implemented instead of that old
So
20
then
and
you have, okay, so
40%.
you have a long-term.
Correct.
Reason why I'm asking is I just think as we look at some of this, we have to be careful that we're spending money smartly, not spend money on a bunch of things and then it all changes on us again. And now you build stuff that you don't fix what we need to fix.
Yep, message heard, yep.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm John Cameron with Ellers and walk through the next phase of this, which is the finance side of it. So we were asked to analyze the capital improvement plan that was developed and look at how these projects might be funded, the use of cash funding for projects versus debt financing, and when might that be appropriate. And then the corresponding impact of that is what is the potential rate impact on stormwater rates that goes along with funding the capital improvement plan. So our approach really is to look at the utility as an enterprise fund of the village, and meaning that it is meant to be self-sustaining in nature, that annually user rates need to fund 100% of operating and maintenance expenses. If there is debt financing associated with these future projects, to be able to pay the principal and interest payments associated with those capital improvement projects, as well as annually pay for projects that are identified to be paid with cash, all while keeping the utility ideally in a position where you're producing positive cash flow, for the most part, year in and year out, unless you have, by design, a planned use of reserves. So looking at the capital improvement plan, and I know that's difficult to see on screen for those behind me, but just to walk through this, there's between 2026 and 2035, what's been identified, thank you, is approximately 3.3, a little over $3.3 million of capital improvement projects. We took that and inflated it by 3% annually. So when you starting with that 3.3 million in today's dollars, assuming 3% inflation factor, that grows to a total of about 5.4 million over that 10-year period of time. Furthermore, then we started looking at the projects and how they might be funded. So we started with the scenario of seeing, could we cash fund everything in your capital improvement plan? And the cash flow analysis is coming here in terms of the slide deck. But we started with that as a premise. And, like a lot of capital improvement plans, your projects and the listing of projects are lumpy in nature. They're not uniform. You're not funding the same amount of capital each year. You've got larger projects, smaller projects. So what as we ran the initial version of the cash flow and the corresponding rate increases that would need to happen, what we looked at was needing much higher rate increases than what I'm going to present to you here in a few minutes, and to fund projects really in the initial years of the capital improvement plan, and then you see a larger project in 2032, and then it started to tail back off. So it produced larger, lumpier increases up front. And as the capital improvement plan starts winding down as you get closer to that 2035 time period, not to say you're not going to have another round of capital improvement projects beyond that, but then as you start getting through the larger projects, what we also saw with the cash flow analysis, we're producing larger amounts of positive cash flow on an annual basis. So what we did in this scenario was looked at the years where we've got larger capital improvement projects and identified those projects for borrowing and the other remaining projects then for cash funding on an annual basis within the rate structure of the stormwater utility. Practically speaking, what that means, that just goes now, cool. Practically speaking, what that means is we identified two different debt issuances, one in 2028 and one in 2032. And within both of these borrowings, we're combining multiple years of capital improvement projects into a single debt issuance. So the 2028 borrowing is funding 28 and 29 stormwater improvements. So again, the larger project is in 2028, but it makes sense to group and fund multiple years worth of projects together. In this case, we're doing that up front. The preference from a staff standpoint is to try to fund stormwater projects or just capital projects more in arrears, meaning you're doing the project, you're paying cash up front, and then you're getting reimbursed with debt proceeds in the back half of your planning period from a borrowing standpoint. With the project in 2028, we're just not able to do that with the existing reserves within the stormwater utility. In 2032, we are. So we're able to fund 2030, 2031, 2032 projects temporarily, and then get reimbursed back with a debt issuance in 2032. So borrowings are spread out, but they're strategic in nature, really with the goal of trying to fund larger capital improvement projects and rely on the use of cash funding for smaller capital improvement plan projects. And what you'll see is that keeps the rate increase very linear over time and smaller. And from a customer standpoint, one of the goals, universal goals with utility rates and utility rate making is to try to keep rates linear and predictable, because we all budget on a monthly basis. You think of your expenses, you think of your utility bills on a monthly basis. I do too. We like to keep that very predictable over time. So to take it a step further, we're just going to go blank on the, there we go. Oh. Take it a step further, and we look at the principal and interest payments for the debt. So the borrowing in 2028, just taking existing rates with an inflation or factor built into the structure of the debt, really that interest rate component, just inflating the interest rates over where they are now. We look at annual principal and interest payments right around $120,000 a year with a planned debt issuance just under $1.4 million. So the larger debt issuance would happen in 2032. That would be a par amount or a debt amount of $1,985,000. And those principal and interest payments would be right around $150,000 a year, spread out over a longer period of time. So in total, we start at about $120,000, but we're ramping up with the second borrowing up to about $270,000 all in, those two issuances together. The 2028 borrowing sunsets in 2043, and the other borrowing runs out through 2052, which is a long time from now. From a cash flow standpoint, just to walk from top to bottom on this, so the total revenues from user rates are shown on the top line of the cash flow analysis. So right now, the stormwater utility annually generates just over $500,000 a year in revenue from user rates, $515,000 a year. So what's projected underneath or shown underneath that is the annual recommended percentage increase to user rates. And what we're able to show here is a 3% annual rate increase. So an annual projected increase to revenues right around 3%. and then ramping up to 5% starting in 2030, and then coming or keep staying at that level out through 2035 before, if we could take that out longer, you'd see that start to ramp off. But it also depends on what comes next in terms of the next round of future capital improvement projects. So the corresponding rate increase is shown in the dollars of additional revenue are shown below that. Then we have our, from an expense standpoint, we've got our operating and maintenance expenses going out the door, and then debt service would be next. So really, debt service, if we're borrowing in 2028, the first year that the village would have principal and interest payments would be in 2029. Again, same thing in 2032. So if we're borrowing in 2032, first year's worth of principal and interest payments would start in 2033. So you do have a few years here where we're cash funding capital improvement projects. Those are shown in the capital improvement row below the debt service amount, and then debt proceeds, to the extent they're coming in, are shown below that. So we've got debt proceeds coming in 2028, so fund 2028 and 2029 capital improvement projects, and then again in 2032. So we do have some years where we've got net negative cash flow. That's partially by design, again doing the projects and reimbursing ourselves with debt proceeds in 2032. But then also, as we get out into the out years of the capital improvement plan, as we start to accumulate positive cash flow, which is shown on the very bottom of the page, we're putting that cash to work and we're spending it down in the latter years instead of borrowing, because we do have a larger capital improvement project in 2034. We're cash funding that. We looked at borrowing for that. We looked at the amount of cash funded, or the amount of reserves relative to some benchmarks, which I'll show you next, and decided that likely we could cash fund that project and spend those reserves down, which is why we see negative cash flow at the end. So one of the things you might be thinking of as you look at this is, are we getting into a position where the utility is not self-sustaining in the latter years of the planning period? That's not the case. It's a deliberate use of reserves to fund capital improvement projects in 2034 and in 2035. Furthermore, we, as part of the analysis, we're looking at the amount of cash on hand, and we're benchmarking that back to a couple of different standards. One of which we call the kind of the Ehlers method is 6 months of operating expenses and 1 year's worth of debt. So at a minimum, we want to see the utility have at least 6 months of operating expenses and 1 year's worth of debt in the bank at all times. To the extent you have cash above that, that's where we can consider using some of that cash again in those years where we might have larger capital improvement expenses and spend that down. The other thing that we're looking at is, not that it comes into effect because PSC does not regulate stormwater utilities, but they do have a method for looking at number of days cash on hand. I like to see at least 90 days cash on hand within PSC method. But then we're also looking at the two major rating agencies, Moody's and Standard & Poor's. Their methods in the AA category, which is a very solid credit rating category, like to identify at least 150 days cash on hand. So we've looked at it 4 different ways. And the bottom line is, as we start to grow cash in the latter years of the capital improvement planning period, we can safely use that and spend it down on future capital improvement projects. And this is something that, you know, you can continue to update and look at, and perhaps reduce a borrowing. We can partially downsize a borrowing or potentially eliminate it out in the future, but based on the size of the capital improvement projects, I'd say that that might be a little bit more unlikely. What does this mean to the average residential customer? Talked about those rates per ERU. Right now, the annual rate per ERU is $60. That gets billed at the end of the year, comes out as a special line item on the tax bill. We're recommending that you take action yet this year, do a 3% increase. What that equates to is a $2 increase. So the rate going from $60 to $62 a year. And generally speaking, that 3% increase equates to about a $2 a year increase to that rate per ERU. So, it is a lot of capital to bite off, no doubt, hearing the previous presentation and some of the feedback. But when you look at the rate impact, this is a steady, stable way to approach this. Quite honestly, when we get brought into utility rate cash flow analysis, the situation is usually more dire than this in terms of the rating impact. Not that anyone likes to see rate increases, particularly continued rate increases year over year, but something like this is linear. It makes these projects very fundable, both from a combination of cash and debt, and it keeps that rate increase very predictable to the average customer. You think of your cell phone bill. I am a subscriber to YouTube TV, and every year that increase, it drives me nuts in terms of what it goes up to. Something like this, it's very stable, it's very predictable, it keeps you on a sustainable path. With that, happy to turn it back over, answer any questions.
So you're gonna answer the phone calls when the tax bill comes out and people are upset about how much they're paying for
I will not.
stormwater fees? Anyone have any questions, Matt? Okay, what's the next steps, I guess? What are you looking from us?
Sorry.
The next steps are, we're gonna propose something in the budget process, and then probably following this, and it'll be up to the board to decide if they're going to approve it, and then start, getting the projects in order and figuring out where we need to go from there, but there hasn't been an increase in the $60 in, I don't know, I bet you 10 years or since it's been implemented. And you look at a lot of our peer communities.
Well, that's not true, because Garner's Creek used to be more, in the Compot watershed had its own stormwater fee. It was in 2020 where we combined that, got rid of all those separate stormwater fees, and we just had one stormwater fee village-wide. That made sense, so people didn't pay different rates. But, yeah, I think we started out at 50, was it 50? I think there was one increase to 60.
We have increased a couple of times.
Twice. But I don't wanna increase it all, but that's just me, but it is what it is, okay. So, yes, we'll have discussions during budget workshops as far as how to deal with this.
And we thought it was timely to present this as we come in with an updated capital improvements plan for the next 5 years, and then start working on the budget after that, just so that you guys have the backstory on where this is coming from.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for the time. Have a good night.
Okay, next up is reports. Talking to Officer McGuire, we had talked a little bit about e-bikes, and I know that's been some issue in the community. I wanted to first, allow him some time, but first, I guess, does the board have any questions or anything as far as the reports that you wanna ask questions about? Other than that, I'll ask Officer McGuire to make some comments about addressing e-bikes. Trustee Julian.
Thank you. I gave Jerry a heads up, I was gonna ask about this, but it just has to do with the fire rescue report. And I know I bring this up a couple times, but I get questions on it a lot. One of the reasons that we use to, substantiate building a new fire station, I realize there were a lot of reasons, including building conditions and all of that, but was response times. And one of the things that I was just looking for is to see, are we tracking the response times from fire station 70 separate from 60, so that we'll be able to substantiate or at least know, did we get an improvement from the new location, and what is that improvement, and how do we keep those two separate? So I.
Sure, yeah, no problem. I'll give you the short answer, that is yes, we can track some of this information, but I think it's important for us to understand where does the data come from, right? Where does the information come from? So The response time as far as when a station goes en route to arrival, we get on the radio, we relay that information to Calumet County Dispatch, and they log it into their CAD system. And so we get a weekly report, and we take their data and we enter it into our reports. Now, it's also important to understand as far as Station 70 versus Station 60, response times, zones, and how we are moving forward also as an organization, right? So to collect the data and be as accurate as possible, one of the changes that we made roughly 3 or so years ago was changing the software program that we use to record the data. The old way of recording the data, we would get the reports from Calumet County Dispatch, we would enter that in, but it's important for everybody to understand that when we get those times, it is a first station to leave the station to go en route, and it is the first station that arrives. So to kind of determine the Station 70 response time and the Station 60 response time, we had to figure out where we were going, so we basically made 2 zones. There always have been 2 zones, right? So if Station 60 leaves first, which 90% of the time, and this is common knowledge, they will leave first. There is absolutely no question about that, because the firefighters live very close to that station, okay? So they will leave first 90% of the time. If they respond to the Station 60 area, which is essentially now east of State Park Road, that's kind of the Station 60 area, Station 60 zone, right? So we can log that as a Station 60 kind of thing. If it is west of State Park Road, that is kind of classified as a Station 70 zone now, right? So here's the little bit that becomes kind of tricky. If Station 60 leaves first and they arrive in a Station 70 area, even though it's a Station 60, they get there first, which is a real possibility because they leave first, it still kind of gets qualified or quantified as a Station 70 response time. Even though Station 60 will arrive there first, Station 70 will get there. Station 70 was actually benefiting from the Station 60 response time. Okay, so I know hopefully I don't confuse you too much. So what does that mean? Why did we change the software system? Well, we used to be able to only put in what Calumet County gave us, right? In the new software program, we can actually put in times for each of the individual apparatus. So in theory now, and I say in theory because of a specific reason, if Station 60 rolls engine 65, we can put their times in. I will know exactly when they left and when they got there. I can also, in the software system, I have the capability to put in when did engine 71 roll and when did they get there, right? So I can get that data breakdown that we never had before. That's part of the reason we changed our software setup. Now here's the catch. Calumet County does not record that data. They don't have the capacity to do that right now. They are going to be changing their CAD system, okay? So we can, in theory, break down all the different apparatus when they leave and when they get there, so we can get more specific data. Now, to answer your question, is there a way to track and compare the old stuff versus the new stuff? The new stuff, we can hopefully get very specific, and that's our goal. The new CAD system hopefully will allow us to do that when they Calumet County, they're looking at a new CAD system, they're looking to implement that new CAD system in the fall, maybe next year sometime. I don't have the specifics on that, I just know that it's happening. What we can currently do is still break down west of State Park Road and east of State Park Road, and what does that data look like when we have the new station location, we're responding out of that station. So inherently, those times should go down, and we can compare the two to see how much of a reduction in time there was. Now, here's another little piece that I think is important to understand. The current location, and there's more than, like you had mentioned, Trustee Baldwin, there's more than one reason that station has been relocated, and we didn't remodel, and we moved it for specific reasons. It takes me a little over 7 minutes to respond to the current location. Okay? So it takes me 7 minutes to get there, and based on our heat maps, essentially we're coming back to the east area. So now I drive that 7 minutes, and then I have to kind of come all the way back. And to put it in perspective a little bit, and I think this makes it real, When that station, and we're responding out of the new location, my 7-minute response time drops down to right about 3.5, 4 now. So my time essentially, it is cut in half. And based on where the call volume is, it doesn't take us as long to get there because we're already closer. I'll use, I know he's not afraid for me to use his name, but I'll use Trustee Lancaster. It currently takes him 7 minutes to get to the current location for Station 70. His response time will drop down to 3, so over half. So we get there in about half the time. We have an assistant chief, it takes him currently 8 minutes to get to the current location. His response time goes down to 3 because he's kind of tucked back in and has to go through multiple roads. So our response time to the station is going to inherently be reduced and we can get out the door faster, kind of like the Station 60 firefighters are. And then where we are going, it's not as far, so those numbers will go down. So I know that's a very long answer, but to say, how can we compare the two? Yes, we can still do the old school method of comparing our response times, but we're gonna get much more than that when the CAD system is updated at Calumet County because we have been proactive and our CAD system will allow us, not our CAD system, our software reporting system will allow us to do that. It's also important to understand, and we're gonna be able to break all this down, emergency calls versus non-emergency calls. We have put into place in the past couple of years a change because it doesn't make sense to send Station 60 and Station 70 to, I'll use the example of a carbon monoxide call, right? If there's no inherent danger to the occupants, why send the entire cavalry to something like that? So we use State Park Road, and now we only send one station. But if the residents are outside of the house, we're gonna go non-emergency, right? There's no sense in making people pull over and driving faster than we need to if there is not a legitimate emergency. Excuse me, so we made some changes with that. But again, in this new software reporting system, we click a button now that says you went emergency or you went non-emergency. So the data that we're going to be able to collect moving forward is gonna be beyond anything we've ever done in the past, but can be compared to the old way of the collecting data and combine that with what we're gonna be doing now. The short answer is yes.
Thank you.
Trustee Lancaster.
So I have a suggestion that I think would simplify this a lot and still give the public the data. And I think I don't know, but sure what all data you used when we were going through the process of deciding to build the station or not. 60 and 70 was call response was broken down in there, so maybe this is similar. But from what I hear from the public, they don't care if a 60 truck gets there first or a 70 truck. All they care about is how long it takes us to get there from the time they call 911.
Yeah, we have that aggregate data and that's super simple for us to pull. As an organization, how long does it take us to get there?
So to me, take your line of State Park Road, which may shift a bit once the new station gets operational, because we're so close to State Park Road on this end, right, to be determined. But take State Park Road as your divider, area 1, area 2. When did they call 911? When did the first truck get there? On scene, doesn't matter who left first, who, whatever, just when did the first piece of apparatus get there? And that's your response time, and then you don't have to get doesn't get nearly as complicated, because that's what the public cares about, is when does a fire truck get there to help them? Just my suggestion.
That data alone is super simple to do, but it's also beneficial as leadership and officers that we have the additional data. But yeah, I get what you're coming from.
For purposes of board and stuff is what I'm saying.
Yes.
I
agree.
And then my other question is, on the report, I just noticed this, or I would have asked you separately, but, can you check out the call from May 3rd, just so it doesn't skew our historical data? There's a, alarm time with May 3rd, and that says we didn't respond until 24 hours later, so obviously there's something that's gotta get this fixed there, I think, just so it doesn't skew our data, if you can make a note of that.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. So before I get to Officer McGuire, I wanna point out in our Chad's zoning report that the business permitting, increased 70% as far as assessed value from last year, so that's a good trend, less residential, more business, so I wanna say thank you, that's only based on year to date. The 10 million,
10 million, yep.
okay, so we still got another half a year yet.
Correct.
Okay, cool, alright. Officer McGuire, please talk to us about e-bikes.
E-bikes, good to hear me again. I know this is a big topic within the community. I feel probably at least 3-4 calls a week. Frustration of the public. I'm trying, we're trying, that's the best way to put it. So deputies are going out and kind of educating the kids, having little powwows at the pavilions. I've been kind of reaching out, probably at least giving it an hour-ish or so a day if I can. And just kind of getting with the kids, having conversations, seeing what they know about the law, seeing what they know about our ordinances. A lot of them are very uneducated, or they appear to be uneducated of anything regarding what Harrison's adopted. Is that on the kids or is that on the parents? Like, it just depends on how you want to look at that, but I take that opportunity to educate and, going forward, I'm gonna continue to do that with, the Kiwanis events. If we can have a booth set up, give an opportunity for the kids to do the bike index scan and talk with the parents. I think this is just as big about educating the parents as it is educating the kids on this, when they're on their e-bikes and e-scooters for that matter. I just think there's a lack of effort for accountability on the parents' side. And that's some of the issues that we struggle with when I'm fielding these calls of what are we doing as law enforcement? And why aren't we stopping these kids? It's a difficult task.
I almost feel I smell serving Harrison video by our village manager on this time.
You're muted.
You know, after we good with Officer McGuire and some kids and you, and I think that would be an awesome idea. Do a video about that.
And, you know, we've talked about that, we've talked about getting our own electric bike and putting an officer on it and trying to, you know, rally the troops that way, because when we show up with a squad car, they all scatter, and we're not gonna chase, you know, kids through neighborhoods. So that's in the works, and we're looking at that option, and, you know, I think it also should be noted that, I think the police department has done a good job to date, and this is a learning curve for all municipalities as to how we handle this. We have a penalty in our ordinance of $250. Well, every kid that gets pulled over, we're not gonna slap them with a $250 ticket. It's gonna have to be some education, and I'm hoping that these events and stuff that they're organizing at the sheriff's department is, you know, one way of doing it, but it's really comes down to parents knowing where their kids are and what they're doing each day and how they're, you know, handling these e-bikes and scooters. So yes, we will continue. I'm sure we'll do a video, and I'm sure we'll, we'll do public outreach and continue. John has been in the schools before the schools left out at the end of the year, educating them on this, and it's just gonna take, unfortunately, time to get to everybody, and, you know, and we'll just keep pushing out the information as we see fit.
Okay, well, thank you for your effort. I mean, I know it's not the easiest because of the situation's not easy. I get it.
I don't have any problems talking to the kids. They're actually pretty forthcoming with me, but, you know, like Chad was saying, we have marked cars. If we see a kid doing something silly, and we do, they run from us. There's no way we're gonna be chasing kids through our areas. There's no way. So once they take off, see you later, bye. I encourage the public to do their own little, safe distance snooping, I guess, investigation. If you can get me an address, I would happily go to the parents, have a conversation, you know what your kid's doing, type of thing. But unfortunately, it gets to the, you know, the really PO'd person that witnessed something and they call, and then it kind of develops into something that really isn't recoverable or actionable, I should say, on law enforcement. That's the unfortunate part, that's the really frustrating part, cause I completely understand where people are coming from. But we have to be able to take action appropriately, we can't just do what we want, you know? That being said, just to follow up with this a little bit, I understand that, all trustees have a lot of respect and that, the citizens will contact a trustee with a concern because you guys are the go-to, you're the fixers. That hinders me too. So if it's a law enforcement matter and it gets to you guys and then it kind of comes to Chad and then it gets to me, we're already behind the curve. I don't know how else to make my number more accessible to anybody. Anybody will give you my number if you call Village Hall and, you talk to me direct. I should be the subject matter expert on law enforcement operations through Calumet County and the village, and I am. The problem is, it gets diluted when, maybe a trustee takes that upon themselves and then kind of pushes it down the line. By the time it gets to me, I'm really, I gotta start over from ground zero with this. So I guess my encouragement, if I can give some advice, is try to ask whoever's got a complaint, legit or whatever.
Just call you directly.
Yeah, just call me direct. I'm happy to, I'm not saying I'm gonna give everybody the right answer, I can't solve all the problems here, but I can give you a very educated, from a law enforcement side, description of what we can do, what we can't do, and why. And if that's not solving the problems, then by all means, take it to the board. Yeah, I'm happy to explain my actions. So that's it. I've been seeing that's been happening more lately, and it's making it a little bit of a challenge for me to address.
Cameraman. All right, any other questions on the reports? Other than that, thank you, staff. I think we're very fortunate for all the hard work you guys do, so thank you. Next up is the bills and claims for May 2026. We'll need a motion and a second for that. Trustee Van Hefty,
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the bills and claims for May 2026 as printed and circulated.
Trustee Baldwin.
I'll second.
So we got a motion by trustee Van Hefty and a second by trustee Baldwin. Any discussion? Trustee Lancaster?
Thank you. I have a question on page 75 for the Sherwood Water and Sewer bill. And I'd like to know, why are we continuing to pay for the fire protection water for Station 60 when upon recent reviews of current contract, we're not supposed to be having to pay for that? Why are we continuing to accrue that overpayment to Sherwood greater and greater? Asking about the $179.50 charge.
How much?
And it's monthly. So this past month on here, $179.50. I realize we're negotiating some different things, but if they can't even honor their current contract, I'm just very concerned.
We get a bill and I guess we pay the bill. I think the challenge is here that, the contract, that part has to be renegotiated. The contract technically goes through the end of the year, before it's, terminated. So, I guess if it's board action for us not to pay it and notify them as such, we can do that. Otherwise, we pay.
What would preclude us from paying it?
What would preclude us from paying it? In the current contract, it states that they're responsible for those water charges, and they have historically billed Harrison for those.
So why don't we just stop paying it?
If that's the direction the board wants us to take, we will do that.
Okay. Trustee Lancaster?
So I'm gonna make an amendment to not pay for the 4-inch meter and send them a letter per the current fire contract.
Well, the motion on the table is to pay the bill. The bills have been already paid. This is just to
Oh,
approve
all
the
right,
payment.
then that's fine, then my plan will be for next month, I guess, never mind, I withdraw my amendment.
I just wanna say that the June one most likely already paid, considering, we're on auto pay for that one, just because of ease of not cutting a check depending on when we get the bill. So if the bill went out in May 26th, the June one probably has already been paid, so it would be effective July.
Trustee Brandmeyer?
I believe they used to charge about $600 a month for water. If you go back,
It's quarterly, it's not monthly, Mike, that's the difference.
The question also, I think, has to, I haven't seen the bill, so we'll have to look at the bill and see if the bill is water usage at the station or if it's emergency water usage. Because that could make a difference as well.
That's why there's two charges here. The $96.27 is going to be your water usage at the station for the toilets and sink and stuff. That's why you got, there's two bills. But good question, but yes, there's two bills.
Let's make sure we use our mics
It's,
for the recording.
Well,
I could be wrong, but
while she's looking at that, I guess if it's kind of unanimous that in July we don't pay, then we put them on notice that we're not paying that portion of it, then that's what we'll do.
Okay.
motion to table the motion to table.
Yep, we have motion on the table. Any other discussion on the approval of the bills and claims for May 2026? If not, please vote your ballot. The motion passes unanimously. Next up, old business for discussion, consideration, or action. Looks like we got another month of none left over, so we go on to new business, starting with 12A.
This is the comprehensive plan amendment for the North Shore Ridge LLC Fire Lane 10 parcel 39652. And the motion is to approve resolution B 2026-06, comprehensive plan amendment to amend the preferred future land use map designation from industrial to low density for the property wholly within parcel 39652.
Anybody want a motion and a second this? Trustee Baldwin?
I'll make the motion to approve resolution V 2026-06, the comprehensive plan amendment to amend the preferred future land use map designation from industrial to low density for the property wholly within parcel 39652.
Trustee Theal?
I'll second that.
Discussion. Trustee Lancaster?
So I have concerns about this comprehensive plan amendment for a couple of reasons. Number one, we just very recently in the past, well, approximate year, paid a consultant and went through a very extensive public process for our existing comprehensive plan. And so I believe it would be premature to all of a sudden start amending that plan. Because if we're just going to all of a sudden start amending very new plans that we spent a lot of money on to create, why are we creating them to begin with? I realize things can change. So I'm not saying this is a forever for me, but it's a not now, because we intentionally have that as business, being that it has 114 highway frontage. Which once you lose your highway frontage for housing, you never get that highway frontage back again. In addition, our current, grab it here. Our current zoning does allow for a business park zoning, that we do allow residential dwelling units in conjunction with a commercial development as part of a conditional use. So I would encourage this developer to perhaps look at, could they do a little bit of light commercial on the highway frontage with a couple of lots, keeping low density on the remaining part of it. And then also we can make sure, because it would be a conditional use, we can make sure we're addressing any berms, any kind of noise situations, any kind of things to not have conflicting uses with the small data center that we have there, as well as with conditional uses, we perhaps could address some of the neighborhood concerns that were also brought up this evening as well. Thank you.
All I would say on that, that's gonna be very difficult because we're gonna have to, we then have to have split zoning. Because you can't have low density in business park zoning. So they're gonna have to divide the parcel up and create two zoning districts and two comp plan areas.
But then why do we have 0.15 in our zoning here that says residential dwelling units are allowed in conjunction with a commercial development?
Correct, so that would be like a live, work, play, where you would have a house on top of a commercial establishment, but you would have to do that through that whole parcel.
Okay, well, maybe that makes sense here then as well, that we're getting some business uses as well as. I just don't think it makes sense to change this all to residential.
The reason it was set as, just to clarify, the reason it was set as business park in the comp plan originally is because we had thought that the developer was gonna sell it to ARC Data Centers for an expansion to the west. That has not come to fruition, and they have enough land on their own property to develop. So that's why I'm believing that the developer's looking to reclassify this. I think this is a situation where, we were trying to accommodate the existing business growth, but they have enough land to do what they're going to do, and that deal never worked forwards, never came to fruition. So
does that mean that that's it, that no other business would wanna come in there, or?
I think, I don't know that for certain, I think it's gonna be difficult to build a business on that frontage road. I don't know that, and I think if there's, the acreage that's there, the impact on traffic on Fire Lane 10 from a commercial business is gonna be a lot more than 4 or 5 houses.
I'd rather have the houses.
What's the point of having zoning if you're just gonna change it depending on whatever goes in there? Zoning is to maintain.
Point of order, I get what you're saying, but this is, there's public comment time.
Not until after, or not at all.
But I appreciate your point of view, and I actually feel the same way. I feel like we just went through zoning,
Thank you.
and if we spent consultants a ton of money, let's look at it a couple of years from now. If it doesn't sell, if it doesn't, we just approved it, we just spent a ton of money on it.
You have that right as the policymakers.
I would think Scott would say something.
Let's see, who's up, trustee Lancaster?
I just have one other concern too with this related, and then that's it, is my other concern is we change this. There really is nothing that stops this from only being 3 or 4 houses. The next thing this is, because now if this gets changed in the comp plan, our next agenda topic after this is zoning, that all of a sudden this is zone residential, now you have a 15 subdivision lots in here. And I realize there's a subdivision process that would have to go through, but your zoning is your very first piece for landowner rights. Once you have the zoning, it's very hard, in my understanding, to say no to things that fit that zoning, and that's when you get getting sued by developers. And so your zoning controls it all, and I do not wanna see this all of a sudden, next thing we know here, that you got a 15 house subdivision here. And that could very easily happen if we change the zoning tonight, so that's the other reason why I'm against this, so thank you.
All right, trustee Van Hefty.
Is this, okay, I'm the planning commission, it was voted with staff's recommendations to approve this in the planning commission last week. We have the developer here, I'm gonna ask him the question right now, is this, 3 to 4 lots, is that for the whole 11 acres? Correct, or is there additional residential you're planning there? Or is it just the four houses for the 11 acres, is that?
Yes, we have two concepts, and I have pictures, there's one with 7 lots and there's one with 4. The one with 7 lots matches the exact density of the homes across the street that range from 138 to 157 in width. And the houses across the street, lots are 142 feet in width. So we felt like 7 lots was low density enough to not impact traffic and still improve the increment of the village.
So I'm a little confused here though, because when I was presented with this information last week running the planning commission, there was says 3 to 4 possible residential lots, I didn't hear about
We were given that 3 to 4 lots, and after the planning commission, the developer called us and said it's closer to 7 lots, and we said that's probably not gonna be supported.
okay. Yeah, so that changes there. Yeah, okay.
So I do have another question. Those of us who went through the border review, who was that? I think you, how many people came through border review to challenge their assessment because of the fact that the development out there along the lakeshore has driven all their assessments up? I cannot tell you how many phone calls I got about assessments and complaints about assessments because we're putting up houses right next to houses that have been 20, 30 years old, and it drives up everyone's assessment. So that's another reason why I'm like, no, I think we got enough growth over there. We got enough complaints with the North Shore. We don't need another subdivision next to that. I'm sorry. But anyone else have any other things I want to discuss? Frank, go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead.
what it's currently zoned industrial?
It is. Well, it's not zoned industrial, it's zoned.
Business park.
Business park, okay, so what do we envision in there? What's good, that's gonna be less obtrusive than 4 lots. Something's going to happen with it.
Correct, and if it is business park related, and we're concerned about traffic on Fire Lane 10, it's gonna be more traffic than probably what these houses will have. So,
Limiting it to 4 lots though.
Would be good.
Yeah.
Well, now it's 7
changed
lots,
in a
but-
week. It's changed in a week to 7 lots.
I did that.
May I speak?
Okay, so,
Yeah, let him speak.
Frank, you just your question answered.
Well, I'm trying to make a point there, right? Something's going to happen. It's not gonna sit there in open field for long, I suspect.
Yes, you can come up, yes.
Hit the button with the person on it.
Hi there, Tom Klisser, N8599 Winding Trail Drive. So I apologize, there's no slipping of any rug. We had 2 concepts from the start, and I think there were just miscommunications between 4 and 7 lots. Regarding the comprehensive plan, I totally get it. It's frustrating when a plan is made and stuff changes, but years ago, when the first plan was made, Kimberly Clark was still there, and they owned that land. When the data center was sold to ARC kept that, and we bought the farm field. We approached ARC 2 years back to back, hoping that they'd buy the data center, hoping they'd buy the land from us, just because we want to be done with it, to be simple. And the first year they said no. So we said, you know what, we're gonna sit tight, we're gonna ask them one more time. We sat tight, we asked them one more time, they said no. So we said after that, and we told them too, we said, we just wanna get this off our plate. Develop very low density lots, as we felt like, I'm gonna live right down the street too, so I'm invested in how this neighborhood turns out, how fast the trucks go, and how everybody turns out this to be. So we thought low density, single family would be the best fit, for the area. And that's when we thought, let's put lots that match the density of the lots currently that are on Fire Lane 10, and we came up with 7 lots. If you limited 4, that's your vote, fine. But I don't think the difference of 4 and 7 of 3 extra homes really gonna change the density much. I get the comprehensive plans are that, but it's just that, it's just a plan, right? Stuff has materially changed since then, so, we're requesting to rezone for low density, single family, and we feel like that'll best match the neighborhood around it, be much less disruptive than bringing a brand new business to Fairleigh 10.
So I'll make a comment. It is not the village's responsibility to correct business decisions that don't go your way. Because you bought that selling that you were gonna sell that to the data center, now the data center says no, and now you want us to turn it around, change our comp plan and all that stuff.
The land has
Now
been
you wanna
zoned
offload
industrial,
it.
the land's been zoned industrial for a really long time, much before this comp plan amendment was done. So it had nothing to do with us and what we're gonna do with the land, and we're not asking you to
But you
develop it
understand
for
my
us.
point.
I respectfully don't, because the land was already sold, their land was zoned industrial long before we bought it.
And now the guy next door says, well, I really don't want it, now you wanna change. I'm sorry, I'm gonna let Matt.
I just think, yeah,
Go
from a
ahead, man.
development,
So this proves my point, which you just said, respectfully, even more so, is you just said it's been zoned business, well, industrial, but actually it's been zoned business park for a very long time. So you knew that when you purchased it.
we did.
And so the time to ask for possibly different uses, if you wanna change the uses before you purchase the land. Just because the data center doesn't want the land now, does not necessitate us changing this. And the problem is, just tonight here, we've heard 4 lots, we've heard 7 lots, what makes it be 12 lots? We have no control over how many lots you actually make this. We zone this residential, who knows what it becomes? Correct, Chad? We have no way of, we get residential zoning, we have no say truly on how many lots the developer would ask us to split this into, is that correct?
Not necessarily, because we have to go through a preliminary plan and the final plan process.
But they still, if they argue back zoning, there's still a process there, yes. But they have zoning, and if we refuse to do certain things, it gets gray, doesn't it, a little bit?
I think it does, but I don't know that it's, you know.
I think maybe we can come back to this another time, but I don't know, but is there any other discussion you guys need on this?
We actually have a motion to second.
I don't know, any more discussion?
Can I make one more comment? I guess I'm not a planner, but from a development perspective, right, when we develop in other communities, we feel people's concerns, we want the least amount of obtrusiveness to the neighbors around them, and we always understand that construction's not fun for anybody. However, this process here, right, we bought the land, we knew it was zoned. We feel like in the area around here, the least disruptive thing to the neighborhood, rather than bringing a brand new business with more construction, with more traffic, heavy duty equipment and fencing, an industrial business, think of an industrial business. The neighbors are single family.
How about leaving the field?
Bringing in a brand new industrial business would be much more disruptive to a neighborhood than it would be matching it with other single family homes. So I guess that's where we're coming from. We're trying to create a cohesive community around here. And after how everything's played out, we feel that single family will be the most cohesive use in the existing neighborhood that we have now.
Is that truly industrial right now zoned?
Business,
Okay.
business.
Alright.
Business park and industrial are two completely different things.
So, I guess I don't have anything else. You guys have anything else? Trustee Field?
Just the comment on the plan commission agreeing to this already, do we have a process before we see this? And I think they're very thorough, and we put a lot of responsibility and faith in their due diligence as well. Which, the fact that they approved this,
Doesn't mean you automatically have to.
it weighs on me. And which way I would vote on this.
Trustee Baldwin?
I support what Frank just said. My biggest reservation is I would all set to approve this at 3 to 4 passable residential lots. that is my understanding of what the planning commission approved, but when it goes to 7 or possibly more, that's when I start to get a little nervous. I understand and I appreciate what you're trying to do to keep it residential rather than putting businesses there. If it were me, I would rather have homes rather than business. However, you know, the number 3 to 4 to 7 is what's unsettling for me.
So if you have 4 lots or 4 properties there versus 7, would the value be higher? Because probably somebody's gonna buy, that lot's gonna be bigger, the home's gonna be bigger, and then that will drive up cost more than 7, wouldn't it? Or how would you see that?
From an increment perspective or from a
Just
profitability
from
selling
a
lots?
property value perspective.
That's a good question. I think it gets close, but I think the reality is that 7 lots would produce more increment. I mean,
But it would be less expensive, possibly, because it's gonna be smaller lots, possibly smaller houses.
less expensive for us to develop, you're
Or
saying?
just for the price of the consumer.
7 lots would be less, yes, if we did 4 lots or bigger lots, they'd be more expensive lots. Yeah, and if there's a number you're comfortable with, I mean, like I said, we're invested in this area, the community, we want it to fit and be good. We didn't want to pull on your rug, so I apologize for the confusion of 4, 7, that was a misunderstanding between village staff and me. If you said 4 is the number, great, you said 5, the number's great, and you have my word, and we'll get it done.
So I was just getting to Scott's point, which was driving up home values, that it would almost be better to have 7 versus 4, because you're gonna have a big house there versus something that might be a little bit smaller.
But a new house these days is probably what, $600,000?
Yeah, the average permit this month was $550.
Yeah.
Go
so-
back to, they're more than $600,000 houses that they're building, way more.
I'm just,
Well, this is a different part of that development. It's a different.
it's just a lot of the people who challenged their assessments this last board of review was from that area. And it was tied to property that was developed that drove everyone's assessed value up in that area, so just kind of concerning, we're just gonna put more, you know, there's a lot of people out there who've been there for 20, 30 years, right, or longer, 40 years, that, you know, the property values just shot up, so. One more time, man.
But also the mill rate went down, so my properties went up too, the mill rate went down, so.
I'm just telling you, I understand the mill rate, if everyone's goes up, that's fine, but your mill rate, the amount you pay is, if everyone's goes up exactly the same, you're not gonna pay anymore, but that's not the case, right? So,
Understood. I still think a lot of people's taxes went down, new development, it's not a 1-for-1 when
A lot of
development.
people's taxes went up too because of the way the adjustments are.
All right.
Respectfully, but Chad, can I ask you a question? As far as if we approve this comprehensive plan amendment, there is, in the amendment itself of changing the comp plan here, there is no way to restrict this to 3 to 4 lots or other conditions, is there?
no, this is a comp plan change, this is an
But
actual,
once you change
the
the
next
comp plan,
motion would be.
But then they got next changed already, so that's I don't know whose Mike that is, but anyway, I think you could do it at the next item. The zoning.
the zoning, you could put a condition on.
Can I just make one follow-up to that? I'm cool with respecting density for your wishes, but I guess I'm just curious why the buck stops here versus the Forest Ridge subdivision that's being built now. Those are 70-foot lots, extreme high density. It's frontage to the frontage road and Highway 10. I just don't know.
So what we did during that, was that approved before our comp plan was changed?
Yes.
So what we did, that one went through, but when we went through this whole process of updating our comp plan, we got rid of the RS2 tightly packed dense housing because the residents don't wanna turn into a city. We don't want houses where you got quarter lots and cramming these houses on these quarter acre lots. That we said, nope, just RS1, standard 1/3 of an acre up to, what is it? How many acres, whatever, that's what the people want. They don't want these cookie cutter developments come in and just cram the houses in, so we got rid of it. So that got put through prior to the comp plan approval change. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does, but totally, and again, for what it's worth, they're doing that to keep the affordability down as much as they can, right? I mean, it's not a great thing to live, but if that house is $550 on a bigger lot, they're able to save 40-50 grand on a lot to keep the affordability factor up. So I'm not saying that's what we're doing here. It's more of, theoretically, what is truly the difference of 4 versus 7 lots gonna be?
But also, as this board gets criticized because we prove every how people don't want more housing, they just wanna say, okay, when's enough is enough. Well, how much more do we have to grow? How much more houses are we gonna cram? And, we've kinda said we wanna keep it fill in the nooks and crannies in the Darboy area. The Lake Shore, I think, same way, these people see, a cottage get bought and then it gets torn down and then, $1 million cottage goes up and it drives everyone's property value up. So, I mean, we're the ones that have to get their votes and people have told us, we don't need all the residential there, we can say no sometimes, and I think, for me, I'm gonna say no, I just don't think we need to add more housing over in that area, it's just my opinion, I'm just one voter. All right, any other discussion? Trustee Baldwin?
Thank you, just a question, so when we vote on the motion, are we voting on it as is, the 3 to 4 possible residential lots?
I think that's what was in the packet.
That's what's written.
No, because you
No,
can't,
that's,
no,
this is
that's
just
not a restriction.
No, that'll come in the zoning part, this is
That's
separate.
the zoning part, yes.
Okay.
So this is just a comp plan change. So then the next item on is the zoning amendment, which is the actual rezone.
So the comp plan, we're gonna change the comprehensive plan.
Whenever you do a zoning change, you have to change the comp plan.
And this is asking to change it.
And the next one is asking.
And then he's asking a non-rezone, so it's I don't know why, is that a state of Wisconsin thing? So whenever you do a zoning change,
Your comp plan, before you can make a zoning change, your comp plan has to reflect of that, cause it's your future land use.
Thank you.
it's a two-step process to get one thing done. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. No more discussion, please vote your ballots. Wait on me. And the motion is denied. All right, next up is, do we have to do 12B?
I think you should just, if this didn't pass, this is, so that's more. Okay, we'll skip it.
Okay, next up is 12C.
This is the final plat for the Modern Homestead Acres, Gemback 40 Development LLC, Woodland Road, parcel 33528. And staff recommends approval of the final plat for the Modern Homestead Acres subdivision, subject to the following conditions. 1, the developer's agreement shall be approved by the village board in conjunction with approval of the final plat. 2, the developer shall disclose the existence of the recreational trail easement located between lots 17 and 18 prior to the sale of either lot. Number 3, lots 9, 10, 11, and 49 wetlands. Sale of lots shall not occur until wetland impacts are remediated by the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. 4, documentation of any wetland remediation shall be provided to the village. 5, erosion control silt fence shall be installed in accordance with state specifications along the right-of-way line of all streets prior to roadway acceptance. 6, all lots shall have a storm sewer lateral provided for sump pump discharge. 7, all drainage ways, drainage easement, and associated infrastructure shall be installed, graded, and seeded prior to roadway acceptance. 8, all utilities including but not limited to sanitary sewer, water, storm sewer, gas, electric, cable, phone shall be installed prior to roadway acceptance. 9, if applicable, wetland remediations, determinations, and/or studies shall be provided to the village. 10, benchmarks shall be established on all hydrant tag bolts. And number 11, the grading and drainage plan shall identify elevations of ground at the foundation.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. We'll need a motion in a second on this one. Trustee Field?
I'll make a motion to approve the final plot for the Potter Homestead Acres subdivision. The Gem 40, Bag 40 Development LLC Woodland Road Parcel 33,528, subject to the conditions listed, 1 through 11.
Trustee Van Hefty?
I'll second it.
So we got a motion by trustee Thiel and a second by trustee Van Hefty. Any discussion? There being no discussion, please vote your ballot. Sorry, Alyssa, I have a message.
They get yelled at every meeting.
And the motion passes unanimously. Next up is 12C.
Oh, D, this would be.
Or
this-
D, I'm sorry.
Yep, that's the certified survey map for the village of Harrison, parcel 47408, Homestead Lane, Harrison Commerce Park. And the motion is to approve the certified survey map request for Harrison Commerce Park.
Trustee Lancaster,
Motion to approve the certified survey map request for Harrison Commerce Park.
trustee Brandmeier.
I'll second it.
So we got a motion by trustee Lancaster and a second by trustee Brandmeier. Any discussion? There be no discussion, please vote your ballot. And the motion passes unanimously. Next up is 12E.
This is ordinance V 26-05 and V 26-06, zoning map amendments for rezonings for the Modern Homestead Acres and the Miller Farm Estates. And staff recommends approval of ordinance V 26-05 and V 26-06.
I will just say that this is a formality. These two documents did not make it in the April 28th a board meeting, so we need them to be approved so that the county can change the zoning.
Trustee Van Hefty?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the certified survey map, City of Zun Village of Harrison parcel 47408 Homestead Lane, Harrison Commerce Park. It's already been circulated.
Trustee Reynolds?
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by trustee Van
Just to
Hefty.
clarify, you read the wrong motion. You
Sorry.
read the motion for D, not E.
Oh, okay.
That's okay. I just wanted to
We'll give him a second.
For the wrong check mark, okay. Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve, the ordinance V 2605 and V 26-06 zoning map amendments, rezoning of the Modern Homestead Acres and Mueller Farm Estates.
Trustee Reynolds?
I'll second that.
All right, so we got a motion by trustee Van Hefty and a second by trustee Reynolds. Let's go ahead and go to discussion. Any discussion? There being none, please vote your ballot.
Trustee Raymond.
Motion passes unanimously. Next up is 12F.
This is a special event permit for the Fox Cities Marathon, and staff recommends approving the Fox Cities Marathon special event permit.
Trustee Thiel?
I'll make the motion to approve the Fox Cities Marathon special event permit.
Trustee Brandmeier?
I'll second it.
So we got a motion by trustee Thiel and a second by trustee Brandmeier. Any discussion? None, please vote your ballot. Motion passes unanimously. Next up is 12G.
This is the municipal code update to repeal and recreate chapter 20, the solid waste and recycling. And the motion is to approve repealing and recreating chapter 20 of the Harrison Municipal Code, solid waste and recycling.
Trustee Lancaster,
Motion to approve repealing and recreating chapter 20 of the Harrison Municipal Code solid waste / recycling.
trustee Van Hefty. I'll second it. So we got a motion by trustee Lancaster and a second by trustee Van Hefty. Any discussion? Some solid reading. There being none, please vote your ballot. And the motion passes unanimously. Next up is 12H.
This is the municipal code update, chapter 16 offenses, and the motion would be to table it until the July meeting to obtain public input.
Trustee Lancaster,
Motion to table until the July meeting to obtain public input.
trustee Brandmeier.
I'll second it.
So we got a motion to table from trustee Lancaster and a second by trustee Brandmeier. Any discussion? There be no discussion, please vote your ballot. Motion passes unanimously. Next up is 12I.
This is a development agreement for the Modern Homestead Acres, and the motion is to approve the developer agreement between the Village of Harrison and the Modern Homestead Acres subdivision.
Don't be shy, guys. Trustee Van Hefty,
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the development agreement for Modern Homestead Acres as printed and circulated by staff.
trustee Thiel.
I'll second.
So we got a motion by trustee Van Hefty and a second by trustee Thiel. Any discussion? There being no discussion, please vote your ballot. Motion passes unanimously. Next up is 12J.
This is a development agreement for Miller Farm Estates, Woodland Road, and the motion is to approve the developer's agreement between the Village of Harrison and Miller Farm Development LLC subdivision.
Trustee Van Hefty,
Yes, just for staff, this is 13 lots. Is this the 13 ones on the south side?
Yes,
The
is that
larger
called,
lots?
yes.
Okay. Yes, I'd like to make a motion then to approve the developer agreement for Wheeler Farm Estates Woodland Road as printed and circulated with staff's recommendations.
trustee Brandmeier.
I'll second it.
So we got a motion by trustee Van Hefty and a second by trustee Brandmeier. Any discussion?
I just wanna state for the record is that this subdivision will not include sidewalks based on the case-by-case basis that the board approved, given that it's a cul-de-sac and it dead ends and there's nowhere for people to go besides around the cul-de-sac and back out again.
Thank you for the information. There's no discussion, please vote your ballot. And the motion passes unanimously. Next up is 12K.
This is various change orders, and the motion is to approve the change order for the 2026 asphalt resurfacing program for $14,250 for Shea Road and Woods Edge Court repairs.
Trustee Baldwin,
I'll make a motion to approve the change order for 2026 asphalt resurfacing program for $14,250 for Shea Road and Woods Edge Court repairs.
trustee Reynolds.
I'll submit.
So we got a motion by trustee Baldwin and a second by trustee Reynolds. I keep screwing the name up. Any discussion? If not, please vote your ballot. Oh, it's frozen. There we go. Next up is 12M.
Oh, we got L.
L, I'm sorry.
That's okay, this is for various payment requests, and the motion is to approve the various pay requests for under contract work for totaling $2,042,250.65.
Trustee Field,
I'll make the motion to approve the various payments for under contract work from $2,042,000, $250.65.
Trustee Reinold.
I'll second that.
So we got a motion and a second, any discussion? There being no trustee Lancaster?
Yes, thank you. Question, page 323. And 24 and 25, the Lakes Gas invoices. Wondering why on 4/27, we were charged for 400 gallons of propane at $1.79 a gallon and then a same day delivery fee. And then on 5/7, so approximately 10 days later, it appears they picked back up 350 gallons of propane and only refunded us back $1.39 a gallon, so we cost ourselves 40 cents a gallon plus the delivery fee here.
I don't have an answer, I'd have to ask the, construction manager. I can inquire about that.
Okay. So do we pay it and then get it back potentially if there's something weird here?
Yes, because they'll catch it in the next fee request.
Okay. And then my other question, well, page 327. I see we're being charged for Sunbelt Rentals for billing through September 29th of 26, when the fire station's supposed to be done in the next couple of weeks. So just maybe that's another thing to find out about.
What page is that?
327, Sunbelt Rentals, at the bottom, says billed for 140 days, 4/20/26 through 9/29/26.
Yeah, I'll find out.
For this equipment, which this equipment should be long gone by then.
I'll find out if that'll be credited.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Any other comments or discussion? If not, please vote your ballot. And Chad will follow up then.
Trustee Baldwin and trustee Brandon.
Mike, you vote?
Kid voting, it was being weird, my kid home.
I did.
All right, the motion passes unanimously. Next up is 12M.
This is to purchase a mass notification module through Civic Plus, and the motion is to approve the mass notifications with Civic Plus for an initial investment of $7,155 and yearly fees of $6,000 with the corresponding budget adjustment.
Don't be shy, people. Trustee Lancaster?
I'll make a motion to approve the mass notifications with Civic Plus for an initial investment of the $7,155 and yearly fees of $6,000 with the corresponding budget adjustment.
Trustee Van Hefty? I'll second it. So we got a motion by trustee Van Hefty, trustee Lancaster, and a second by trustee Van Hefty. Any discussion?
Just under discussion, so the memo, but for the public's sake, so this will allow us to do mass notifications as well as text messaging, geo-targeting, so if we have an issue with a garbage truck in a specific neighborhood, we can hone in on that specific neighborhood and contact them versus sending it out village-wide. So this will give us a lot more flexibility, and it'll incorporate with our current website and populate it all in there. So we think it makes sense, and the utility also asked for it should they ever have a boil water notice or something of that sort.
Trustee Bowman?
Yeah, I just have a question. How do you get people to opt into this? How do you notify people if this is a thing?
Once it's set up, it's gonna be a public campaign, to get people to text a certain number to sign up to the relevant, alerts, and it's specific to the alert that you want. So if you want a garbage alert, you would have that, or you want, we'll set up different alert modules and people text into it, and then they get on the list and they receive them.
Right, and how do you notify people via fake social media, website?
Newsletters, yes.
You could send your videos directly right to people's phones.
Right.
Any other discussion? All right, please vote your ballot. By the way, people love those videos.
President Buchanan.
Just shut up and vote. All right, motion passes unanimously. Next up is 12N.
This is a request to install and maintain a Little Free Library at Renwood Park, and the motion is to approve installation of a Little Free Library at Renwood Park and authorize the village manager to work with the requester to install in a location that works for both parties.
Trustee Baldwin,
I'll make a motion to approve the installation of a Little Free Library at Redwood Park and authorize the village manager to work with requester to install in a location that works for both parties.
Trustee Teal.
I'll second that.
So we get a motion by trustee Baldwin and a second by trustee Teal. Any discussion? Just wondering, what kind of books do they go in there? Just whatever?
Random.
Okay. There being no discussion, I mean, I like pop-up books. Please vote your ballot. And the motion passes unanimously. Next up, it is 12O.
This is a request to install and maintain a free little library at Dogwood Park, and the motion is to approve the installation and maintenance of a little free library at Dogwood Park and authorize the village manager to work with the requester to install in a location that works best for both parties.
Trustee Lancaster,
Motion to approve installation and maintenance of a Little Free Library at Dogwood Park and authorize the village manager to work with requester to install in a location that works for both parties.
trustee Brandmeier.
I'll second it.
So we got a motion by trustee Lancaster and a second by trustee Brandmeier. Any discussion? Please vote your ballot. And the motion passes unanimously. Next up is 12P.
This is the 2025 financial statement and PSC report, and the motion is to approve the 2025 financial statement, audit, and PSC report prepared by CLA.
Trustee Van Hefty,
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2025 financial statement and PSC report by CLA.
trustee Teal.
I'll second.
So we got a motion by trustee Van Hefty, second by trustee Teal. Any discussion? Frank, do you? Okay. If there's no discussion, please vote your ballot. Motion passes unanimously. Next up is 12Q.
This is the Harrison Commerce Park Pond Prairie and Aquatic Plants proposal by McMahon, and the motion is to approve the contract with McMahon and associated vendors for installation of prairie and aquatic plant installation at Harrison Commerce Park for $31,860.
Trustee Lancaster,
Motion to approve the contract with McMahon and associate vendors for installation of prairie and aquatic plant installations at Harrison Commerce Park for $31,860.
trustee Reynolds.
I'll second that motion.
So we got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just under discussion, this has been budgeted in our budget under the stormwater utility maintenance and ponds account, so that's where this will be funded from.
Trustee Lancaster,
It's not a lot, so it's probably fine either way, but could this come out of the TID if we wanted to preserve our stormwater funds for other projects?
We did talk about that. We have a substantial amount of debt in that TID right now with the final.
Oh, sure, okay.
So it could be either way. The finance director recommended the stormwater.
Okay, fair enough, I'm fine then, thank you.
Next up is 12R.
We need to vote on that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Please.
No other discussion, please vote your ballot. I turned the page, I was getting ready for the next one. And the motion passes unanimously. Now we can do 12R.
Yep, this is the 2026 asphalt street resurfacing program to award the contract. And the motion is to award the contract to Fire Lane 12, 12 West, and 13 to MCC Incorporated for $881,443 for asphalt paving and a supplemental item for $14,550 for riprap placement for a total of $895,993.
Trustee Theo?
I'll take a stab at it. I'll make the motion to award the contract to Fire Lane 12, 12 West, and 13 to MMC. Am I on the right one?
Yep, you are, you got it.
Incorporated for $881,443 for asphalt paving and supplemental item $14,550 for riprap replacement for a total of $895,993.
Trustee Lancaster?
Second.
So we had a motion and a second. Any discussion? Trustee Van Hefty?
Yeah, is this, gonna be done in September? Okay, that's all I got.
The other thing that should be noted, this includes a final restoration at the municipal garage parking lot, as well as the repaving of the Harrison Road Hill. And then the riprap part of this project will come out of stormwater fees.
Trustee Brummeyer?
Where's your riprap? Gonna go.
Where that guardrail was hit by the plow in the corner of 12, where it goes 12 east, there's a deep ditch down there and it's all eroding. So it needs, that's correct, isn't that?
Both sides.
Yeah, both sides. So the riprap is going on that corner to try to stabilize the bank.
So it won't hinder that snowmobile trail to the lake, will it?
No.
No, that's
That's further.
This is an existing riprap ditch, AC starting at 12 west
It's
going
100 feet away.
south.
Okay.
It's 100 feet, it's 100 feet away from the access to the,
Yeah.
to the fire station to the lake.
They should cut in there.
Wow, this is the most discussion about riffraff and we've ever heard. All right, next up is 12S.
We gotta vote on that.
Oh, we gotta vote on it, sorry. Motion passes unanimously. 12S.
This is a special event permit for Brody Hippus for Brodazofa, and staff recommends approving the special event permit allowing July events to occur with the listed conditions.
Trustee Deal?
I'll make the motion to approve the special event permit allowing July events to occur with the listed conditions at the special event site for Brody Hippus. Brodazofa.
Trustee Baldwin.
I'll second.
So we got a motion by Trustee Deal and a second by Trustee Baldwin. Any discussion? Matt?
I had a quick question, so how are we going to make sure these conditions are met? Is that something Craig will be going out inspecting to
Yes.
check the tent and stuff?
Yes, Craig has been out there for the previous event that they had and confirmed that everything lined up with what they said. And he'll do that again for these events.
Okay, and then just a comment, because we do have our processes and procedures, can we make sure, referencing page 532 and page 534, the emergency action plans, that those do get checked and signed? Cause we have spots on there for yes, no's and the CRO signatures and they're blank.
Yes, we can make sure.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, please vote your ballot. And the motion passes unanimously. Next up is 12T.
This is the Noe Road closure approval for a rescheduled event. That's for Touch a Truck. And the motion is to approve a request to close Noe Road adjacent to Darboy Community Park for Touch a Truck event on either July 15th or August 26th, 2026.
As a follow-up to that, I can say that it's going to be August 26th.
I mean, what are the odds that two events on the same day of the week get canceled from bad weather?
If you want the event canceled, schedule it on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you still want the motion for either one then?
I think if you just make a motion to approve August 26th, because that's the selected date that they contacted us about this morning.
Okay. Motion to approve request to close Noe Road adjacent to Darwin Community Park for Touch a Truck event on August 26, 2026.
Trustee Reynolds.
We'll second that.
So we got a motion and a second for Noe Road closure for the rescheduled Touch a Truck event. Any discussion? There being no discussion, please vote your ballot. And the motion passes unanimously. Next up is future agenda items. Anyone here have anything that you want to be brought up? You do? Okay. Trustee Baldwin?
I would just like to test the waters and see if it's time to do another survey to the public. I know that, I think it was November of 23, we mailed out that survey, asking people for, their opinions on a whole host of issues, and I think it's time to do that again. I don't know what the questions should be, but I think between now and the end of the year, we should do that to show people that we still care. I want to know what they think.
Do we have an open session for people can come in? I mean.
The listening session?
We have a listening
Yeah,
session
listening
on July
session, yeah.
28th.
Yeah, but we don't get a huge population from that, and if this is a mailed out survey, it reaches every home, so that's my thought. If nobody wants to do it, great, but I think it's a good idea.
I'm back around that.
I'm not opposed to that.
Doing great.
You got that? Put that on an agenda for next month? Or,
We'll come up with a plan.
okay. All right, next up is future meetings. So we have the July 14th board review. Matt?
And maybe this doesn't necessarily have to be a full future agenda item, so leave it up to staff what they think on this, but I'd like to see us have some kind of community recognition program. For example, I don't know, Chad, if you knew the person was going to do it or not, but, someone spent a lot of time planting some flowers around Darwin Community Park, and we need more people like that take some initiative and are willing to invest some time, and they even went and got a donation from Schmalz for the plants and stuff, so I thought that was pretty cool, and it'd just be nice to have some kind of doesn't have to be anything fancy, but just like some kind of a policy or something, they get a nice certificate or something.
We'll come up with something.
Trustee Baldwin, you're. Okay. Future meetings, we have the board review, that's July 14th, okay. You too, okay. And then July 28th at 5 is our biannual listening session. And then the regular board meeting shortly after that. We have the August 22nd grand opening, ribbon cutting for the fire station. What do you guys got planned for that?
We have fireworks and food and entertainment and lots of different things.
Awesome. And then 25th is our end of August regular board meeting. Next up, we have.
Before you move off of that, two things, yes.
Okay.
So, you should have got on your desk an updated budget calendar. Originally, the budget calendar that the board approved at the last meeting had adoption of the budget on November 10th. we're asking for that to be postponed to November 11th, because that's also Veterans Day, and we'll be hosting the second annual Veterans Cookout that same day. So we just thought that, I mean, those up, you don't have to come to Village Hall one time that week versus twice. So we're changing it from the Tuesday the 10th to Wednesday the 11th, and that'll also be a cookout, so come and have a broad on the village. And then there's also going to be an email coming out shortly on another joint meeting with the planning commission and the village board, probably before the planning commission meeting in July, to review the kind of final edits and comments on the zoning code update. So watch for that from me with some dates to respond to when we can get another meeting. And then I think that's probably gonna be about it, and we'll be taking the fall to get public comments and having some open houses and trying to get adoption of that code before the end of the year.
Okay. Alyssa, you wanted to say something?
No, mine was the budget, so.
Okay. All right, next up is 15 closed session. I guess I would like to talk about it first, just to make sure we have a proposal that we need to review, so I guess that's all I can say about that.
Go ahead.
Okay. The board may convene in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 19.851E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating contract terms wherever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically to discuss strategy and bargaining authority to be used by the village manager in negotiations related to the fire service contract with the village of Sherwood and the town of Woodville. Attendees may include the board, village manager, finance director, treasurer, village clerk, fire chief, and village attorney.
All right, we're gonna need a motion in a second and a roll call.
Motion to go into closed session.
I'll second.
So we had a motion by trustee Baldwin, and a second by trustee Brentmeyer. Do a roll call, any discussion? There being no discussion, we'll do a roll call vote, trustee Lancaster,
Aye.
trustee Brentmeyer, trustee Van Hefty. Aye. I'll vote aye, trustee Thiel,
Aye.
trustee Baldwin.
Aye.
Trustee Rhino.
Aye.
All right, we're in closed session. Let's take a 5-minute break. I guess, are you guys gonna come up here? Mr. Attorney and they're gonna come up here.
What's that? 6-2 Brewers.
This is why I don't like discussion, because I'm trying to move.
I know. It's okay, we got you.
It's all right, I like the enthusiasm.
I give them a hard time every time with these conditions lately, cause like half the time I have to read like the same like 12. And I'm like, how many this time? Like, how many this time?
That's why I just
Like,
had a message
I
here.
give him and Josh a hard time, I'm like, can we stop? And they'll be like, oh, there'll be 3 on there again, I'm like, great, thank you, thank you for that. I should just feel like you guys can read 1 through 11, like, those are the conditions.
What, do we have to read every one of them?
I think it's just more for the public, if, you know what I mean, that they know what they are. Cause not everybody obviously has the whole packet in front of them, so we're just giving them more info, I guess, but.
My biggest thing was with that data center, it's like, I don't know. It's like the Putnam man trying to squeeze to solve it. Then you want us to.
So I weird position, cause one of the guys that from my office, it lives down
Oh,
right by in that
got it.
subdivision, so they just moved there. Find my time over it.
No paper. Do you know where the paper store? The hand towing?
Yeah, it's in the back.
Oh, it's a.
It's like saying there's toilet paper, you know. Well, there's toilet paper.
Scooting down the hallway.
We just want some white paper, that's what, white paper, and that's what we use for the 5 guys that are here.
Well, they'll get changed tomorrow. I think it's over here. Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So are we planning on August 20th?
No, we won't be ready in September first.
By September or?
I'm hoping that September.
And then as soon as we get over there, we get farmer's field for the land. Hopefully. So we can. This has been here for so long. Why do you have to close the cage around there?
Because all
Yeah,
electronics.
rentals.
Like leave this door open to the public now, so they can use the
Use the
restroom.
bathroom, because there's no way of letting them get to the public restroom. And then they're walking through here now, that's why we're.
I mean, if they wanted, I guess.
I mean, our mail guy comes through and he's really the only one ever there that uses the bathroom, but.
Interesting.
That's why getting a bathroom in the front of the house makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
From this, and then it separates the public from the staff.
Yeah, cause it's kinda out of the bathroom, there's some random person in there, and they're like,
I don't know who you are.
Okay. That's good. Just need to get to that.
Well, it's like, I'm sure some
Conversation.
Vikings, but I mean, they don't know they can use the bathroom in the back, some people use the front.
There's a lady that like bites at.
And she leaves, yeah, she leaves the
So much.
bathroom door cracked open, goes to the bathroom, comes back 2 hours later, goes again, and then closes the door. Yeah, it is, it's to the point where people have noticed, like.
I'm guessing it's.
But that lady from HAA comes and cleans that like once a week. For sure.
Mark, you've been reeling a walleye?
Yeah, it's been a good year.
Boy, it sure has, isn't it?
Yeah.
In here.
Guys, Powers is 3 for 3 with a home run.
Along with-
Oh, yeah.
They're fat too, they're fast, I've seen, I've seen.